Welcome to Lilo and Stitch, another poor movie on Hollywood's list of unwanted remakes that I am never going to watch. So if you did spend money to, watch a movie version of a cartoon that you've already watched before, please feel free to share in the comments. How did it go? Did you actually enjoy the movie? After everything, was it really worth it? Yeah. Alright, so let's start. The movie starts in outer space where this chopped alien woman is judging this chopped alien man for illegal genetic mutation. Now, none of their names I know, so I'll just be calling her the chopped alien woman. And this guy, because he reminds me of a Nazi somehow, I'm just going to call him Professor Vladimir. This chopped alien woman and Professor Vladimir are, having a back and forth as to why it's not good to be genetically modifying shit. And basically, he's in trouble because he created this life form called 626. Yeah, experiment 626. It looks like a rat and a cockroach procreated. But then the worst thing is now how all of these other aliens who are chopped, by the way, like insulting this guy for no good reason. Bro, he's finer than all of you.
And as for that abomination,
May I please add that your chopped Somali-looking ass cannot be using words like abomination. Have you seen yourself in the mirror? However, during this time, Professor Vladimir tries to explain all of 626 abilities. He's basically super smart, super strong, and super resistant. And he can shape-shift. He also has this insatiable, inborn ability to just destroy everything he sees. So because of this, they sentenced this guy to banishment on an asteroid. They could have just killed him. However, I guess, for the movie, they had to just, spend so many resources. Can you imagine the amount of fuel conveying this fleet of ships to escort this guy to an asteroid when you could have just killed him? Anyhow, the guy manages to escape using his ingenuity and all of his abilities that these guys ignored to take into account. And that's kind of impressive because if you think of it from a realistic point of view, this nigga was literally born yesterday. So the fact alone that he just managed to breach intergalactic security protocols that he's probably seen for the very first time is crazy. So 626 escapes to a planet called Earth. And since they want an expert on Earth and an expert on 626 to go and catch him, they draft this guy called Slenderman and Professor Vladimir to go and obtain him. And if they do, they'll grant Professor Vladimir his freedom. So they both agree to go. We later get to understand that 626 is on a course to land in Hawaii. And we're also introduced to the main character, an acoustic Hawaiian kid called Lilo. She's also socially afflicted, by the way, because she's constantly getting bullied by her mates for being weird. She also has a thick sister, but hey, all right, today I am a changed man. Let's just focus on the video. So her sister is currently her sole, legal guardian. But because this is the US of A, child support is a thing. Officers are always coming over to check on Lilo's safety. However, because of Lilo's acoustic condition, paired with the fact that the house is upside down, the child support guy gives Lilo's sister 3 days to prove that she's responsible, or else they're going to take Lilo to the system. And Lilo's sister is pissed because Lilo didn't listen to anything that she said, which put them in this situation in the first place. So they have an argument and eventually make up before 626 finally lands on our precious planet. However, he proceeds to instantly get run over by multiple trucks who take him for dead and carry him to the dog pound. Now, I don't know why they couldn't have just buried him since they thought the thing was dead. I mean, please, if y'all live in US of A, what are your animal rights laws or something? Because I know people have that in there. If you kill something on the road, can you just sharply go and bury it and dip? But let me tell you the truth, over here, nobody really gives a shit. Yeah, I think because most times it's usually rats or these animals that are nuisances that get killed. Sometimes I think it's cats. I've never seen a dog before, but I've seen rats and I've seen cats. Usually the driver just drives away and everybody just ignores it until somebody inevitably packs it up. But anyhow, they take 626 to the pound, and coincidentally, all this happens at the approximate point in time when Lilo's sister goes to the same pound to hire a dog for Lilo. 626 tries to escape but quickly realizes that he's being hunted down, so he returns to the He disguises himself as a dog so he can get adopted by Lilo, and they name him Stitch. So for the rest of the day, they spend a bit of time together while being followed by Slender Man and Professor Vladimir. Now take note of this because this is very important. I will be referring to this period of time later in the video. We get introduced to this guy called David, who's also interested in Lilo's sister. As Stitch causes a scene, in the restaurant where Lilo's sister works, and because of that, Lilo's sister gets fired. Y'all could have just told her not to bring the dog again, right? They do leave these things at home, so you could just
put that proposal on the table and then let's discuss it. And if they need a right, you can't say because
instead of just sacking people up and down, how far? So they return home where Stitch continues acting out and getting bored because, against his inborn tendencies, there's actually nothing left to destroy on this island. So he starts reading books and sees this one about an ugly duckling. As Lilo tells him the story of how an ugly duckling was sad because it was alone, and then he got found by his family and was sad again. That is not how the ugly duckling went. He probably got this book from Timu. So the next day, Lilo's sister tries to get another job, as this is, a primary requirement to actually keep a child in the US of A. And all Stitch had to do was just be normal for 30 seconds straight. So Nani, that's her name, Nani can get a job and, everybody can be happy. However, I don't know if he somehow manages to just cause a scene every single time. And this is where I'm confused because literally, was it yesterday or the day before, you allowed Lilo and Stitch to go and hang out alone by themselves. So I feel like after the second incident, Nani should have probably sent Lilo and Stitch to go and hang out by themselves while she went to go and get a job, because obviously this was not working. But anyhow, because of all of this and Nani's inability to get a job, the guy from child support decides to take Lilo away. So now Stitch is sad and, begins to think about his life and regrets his decisions, And then we cut back to Slender Man and Professor Vladimir, who proceed to get sacked because they've taken too long to capture 626. So Professor Vladimir decides to capture him his own way. And we cut back to the chopped woman from earlier, sending this elephant-looking ass nigga to go and capture Stitch. Then we return to Lilo and Nani, and it turns out that David has actually found her a job. So they leave Lilo behind in order to fix whatever is left of this family.
Aw, David, I owe you one.
You can just date me and we'll call it even.
Sensational.
Yeah, that was smooth, can't lie. But just as they leave, literally the second they leave the frame, Stitch comes back and he's being pursued by Professor Vladimir, who couldn't care less about protocols anymore. So bro literally comes, shoots up the house and dips. Yeah, it's very sad to watch. But now Nani and Lilo are homeless and child support are definitely not going to allow her keep Lilo anymore. So they take Lilo away, but Lilo runs and realizes that Stitch was the major reason why all of this has been happening to them. However, before they can argue proper, they both get kidnapped by Elephant Guy. Now, please, tell me that this guy is not the offspring of a cockroach. It's only cockroaches that can do this. The tightest of spaces, you see the biggest cockroaches just slipping through. Anyhow, Stitch escapes and cahoots with the others to go and save Lilo, which they manage to do just in time, and Stitch finally gets captured by the alien guys from earlier. However, because Lilo kind of bought him at the pound, he's kind of like her property. So the aliens allowed the guy to serve the rest of his exile here on planet Earth with Lilo and Nani. And then they proceed to live happily ever after.